The stars were silent witnesses to the unfolding catastrophe. Captain Nico's fingers trembled as they flew across the command console of the Kalan Republic's flagship. The view screen before him displayed the horrifying sight of a Vorak battlecruiser bearing down on his position, its weapons ports glowing with deadly energy. "Shields at 23%, shouted his first officer, her voice cracking with strain. "We can't take another direct hit." Nico's heart sank. This wasn't supposed to happen. The Kalan Republic, a peaceful civilization spanning 12 star systems built on commerce and cultural exchange, had never imagined they would become targets of the Vorak Empire's expansion. They had no significant military, just a modest defense force meant to deter pirates and smugglers. "Send another distress call," Nico ordered, his silver-blue skin glistening with sweat under the emergency lights. "Broadcast on all frequencies. Someone must hear us." Across the Kalan system, on the homeworld of Kalan Prime, President Vale stood in the underground command center, watching with mounting horror as reports flooded in from across their territory. The Vorak attack had been sudden and devastating. Entire orbital stations had been reduced to debris fields. Civilian transports attempting to evacuate were being methodically hunted down. "Madam President," her communications officer said, voice hollow, "we've lost contact with the 7th Defense Squadron. The colony on Kalan 4 is reporting ground troops." Vale closed her eyes briefly, steadying herself against the command table. "Keep broadcasting the distress call. To anyone who can hear us. We need help." The signal raced outward, a desperate plea carrying across the vast emptiness of space, traveling faster than light through the quantum communications network that connected the more advanced civilizations of the galaxy. And someone was listening. Commander Eliza Blake stood rigid as the translated message played throughout the bridge of the UES Defiant, Earth's newest and most advanced warship. The haunting voice of an alien being filled the command deck. "This is President Vale of the Kalan Republic. We are under unprovoked attack by Vorak Empire forces. Our civilian populations are being targeted. We have no significant military capability. If anyone can hear this, please help us. We won't survive alone." Blake's jaw tightened. Earth had only recently developed faster than light travel, taking its first tentative steps into the greater galactic community. They knew of both the Kalan Republic and the Vorak Empire from diplomatic exchanges, but had maintained a cautious neutrality in galactic affairs while building up their defense fleet. "Send this to Earth Defense Council immediately," Blake ordered. "Priority Alpha." Within hours, the council had convened in the underground chambers beneath New Geneva. 12 men and women representing Earth's unified government sat around a circular table, their faces illuminated by holographic displays showing the ongoing Kalan massacre. "We should maintain our neutrality," Defense Secretary Morgan argued, his weathered face set in grim lines. "Earth has only just ventured beyond our solar system. We cannot afford to antagonize a power like the Vorak Empire." "And what message does that send?" countered Admiral Jonathan Hayes, commander of Earth's newly commissioned Deep Space Fleet. "That we'll stand by while peaceful civilizations are butchered?" The Kalan welcomed our diplomatic missions with open arms. They shared scientific knowledge freely. "Our fleet is untested in actual combat," another counselor pointed out. "We have 12 warships capable of interstellar travel. 12. Intelligence suggests the Vorak have thousands." Hayes leaned forward, his piercing blue eyes moving from one council member to the next. "Our ships may be few, but they incorporate technologies the Vorak haven't encountered. Our kinetic weaponry, our drone systems, they're different from standard energy weapons used in the galaxy. We could make a difference. Or we could lose our entire fleet and paint a target on Earth itself," Morgan countered. The debate raged for hours as the desperate pleas from the Kalan continued to arrive. Finally, Council President Adama called for a vote. "Those in favor of intervention?" Hands rose, one by one, 7 out of 12. "The motion carries," Adama announced, looking directly at Hayes. "Admiral, You are authorized to take the Deep Space Fleet to assist the Kalan Republic. May God help us all." Hayes nodded solemnly. "We'll depart within the hour." As Hayes strode through the corridors of the orbital shipyard, his mind raced with preparations and contingencies. The UES Defiant would lead the fleet, 12 of Earth's most advanced warships, crewed by their finest personnel. He had no illusions about the danger they faced, but the memory of the Kalan distress call hardened his resolve. "Admiral on deck!" someone shouted as Hayes entered the Defiant's bridge. "At ease," he replied, making his way to the command chair. "Status report." His XO, Commander Blake, approached with a data tablet. "All 12 ships report ready for departure, sir. The Resolute, Intrepid, Dauntless, Guardian, Sentinel, Valiant, Fearless, Vigilant, Dreadnought, Indomitable, and Relentless are standing by for your orders. Crews are at battle stations. Weapon systems are hot." Hayes nodded, taking his seat. "Communications. Send to all ships. Prepare for immediate departure. Set course for the Kalan home system at maximum sustainable FTL." "Aye, sir," the communications officer responded. Hayes looked around at his crew. Men and women who had trained for space combat, but never experienced it. Would their training be enough against an enemy that had conquered dozens of star systems? "Sir," Blake said quietly, standing beside his chair. "The odds." "I know the odds, Commander," Hayes interrupted. "But sometimes you have to stand for something, regardless of the cost." The fleet disengaged from Earth's orbital facilities one by one, their massive engines flaring to life as they moved into formation. Within minutes, they had cleared the moon's orbit and were accelerating toward the edge of the solar system. "All ships report ready for FTL transit, Admiral," Blake reported. Hayes took a deep breath. "Execute jump." 12 vessels simultaneously tore holes in the fabric of space, disappearing in flashes of light as they began their journey to an interstellar war. Back in the Kalan system, the situation had deteriorated catastrophically. President Vale received the latest damage assessment with growing despair. 60% of their defense forces had been destroyed. 3 colony worlds were under direct attack. The Vorak fleet was positioning to begin orbital bombardment of Kalan Prime itself, where 9 billion citizens had no means of evacuation. "Madam President," her chief of staff whispered, "perhaps we should consider terms of surrender." Vale's 4-fingered hands clenched into fists. "The Vorak don't accept surrenders. They accept only subjugation or extermination. They've made that abundantly clear." A communications officer suddenly straightened in his chair. "Madam President, we're detecting quantum space disruptions at the edge of the system. Multiple signatures. They don't match Vorak patterns." Vale hurried to the main view screen as it switched to show the area in question. A series of brilliant flashes erupted in the blackness of space, and 12 ships of unfamiliar design appeared. "Are those Earth vessels?" someone whispered. For the first time in days, Vale felt a flicker of hope. Admiral Hayes stood from his command chair as the Defiant and its companions completed the FTL jump into the Kalan system. The tactical display immediately lit up with hundreds of contacts. "My God," Blake breathed beside him. The Vorak invasion fleet was massive. Hundreds of ships of varying sizes, from small patrol craft to enormous dreadnoughts. They had formed a blockade around Kalan Prime and were systematically destroying orbital infrastructure while landing troops on the surface. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from a Kalan vessel." "On screen," Hayes ordered. The view screen flickered to show Captain Nico's face, his alien features strained with exhaustion and surprise. "Earth vessels? You came to help us?" Hayes nodded. "Captain, this is Admiral Jonathan Hayes of the United Earth Defense Fleet. We received your distress call and are here to render assistance." Relief flooded Nico's features, quickly replaced by concern. "Admiral, I appreciate your courage, but you must understand, The Vorak outnumber you at least 30 to 1. Their Emperor Kane himself is overseeing this invasion from their command ship, the Eternal Conquest. We understand the odds, Captain. Hayes replied calmly. But we didn't come this far to turn back now. What's the strategic situation? Nico quickly briefed Hayes on the Vorak positions and their tactics so far. They've committed most of their forces to the blockade and planetary assault. However, they maintain a patrol screen at these coordinates. He transmitted tactical data to the Earth fleet. Hayes studied the information, then turned to his tactical officer. Analysis? Lieutenant Commander Reyes examined the data. The patrol screen consists of 8 Vorak cruisers. They're maintaining a standard search pattern, likely watching for any reinforcements. Their energy shields appear to be optimized against energy weapons, plasma, and laser-based systems. But not against kinetic weapons. Hayes noted with grim satisfaction. Earth's warships were equipped with advanced railgun technology, electromagnetic accelerators, capable of launching projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed. While most galactic civilizations had transitioned entirely to energy weapons, Earth had refined its ballistic technologies to devastating effect. Sir, I recommend we engage the patrol screen first, Blake suggested. A quick victory might create confusion in their ranks. Give us time to coordinate with the remaining Kalan forces. Hayes nodded. Agreed. Communications. Send to all ships. Form attack pattern Delta. Target the patrol screen. Weapons free. The 12 Earth vessels accelerated toward the unsuspecting Vorak patrol. On the bridge of the Defiant, Hayes watched the distance close with mounting tension. Enemy vessels detecting our approach, Reyes reported. They're moving to intercept. The Vorak ships, sleek predatory designs with curved hulls of dark metal, adjusted course to meet the Earth fleet head-on. Energy weapons began charging, glowing with ominous light. They're preparing to fire, Blake warned. Hayes leaned forward. All ships, execute evasive pattern and return fire. Tactical, target their propulsion systems. The space between the fleets lit up as the Vorak ships unleashed streams of plasma fire. The Earth vessels broke formation, their superior maneuverability allowing them to evade most of the barrage. Minimal damage to Vigilant and Dreadnought, Reyes reported. Shields holding. Hayes nodded. Fire main railguns. All ships. Across the Earth fleet, massive electromagnetic accelerators unleashed their fury. Specially designed projectiles crossed the void at tremendous velocity, their kinetic energy multiplied by their speed. The Vorak ships, their shields calibrated against energy weapons, offered little resistance to the physical impacts. The first salvo tore through 3 cruisers, rupturing hulls and triggering secondary explosions as power systems overloaded. Direct hits on multiple targets, Reyes announced, unable to keep the surprise from his voice. 3 enemy vessels disabled, 2 more showing significant damage. Hayes allowed himself a small smile. Press the advantage. All ships, continue firing. A second volley from the Earth fleet finished what the first had started. The remaining Vorak patrol vessels, caught completely off guard by the unfamiliar weaponry, were systematically disabled or destroyed. All enemy vessels neutralized, Reyes reported, the bridge falling silent as the crew processed what they had just accomplished. 12 Earth ships had just defeated 8 Vorak cruisers, without suffering significant damage. Send to all ships. Well done, Hayes said, breaking the silence. But this was just the beginning. Reform the fleet and prepare to move deeper into the system. The news of the patrol screen's defeat spread quickly through the Vorak fleet. On the bridge of the massive flagship, Eternal Conquest, Emperor Kane received the report with cold fury. 8 cruisers destroyed by 12 unknown vessels? He hissed, his scaled skin darkening with rage. Impossible. Supreme General Rex, Kane's military commander, reviewed the sensor data with growing concern. The vessels are confirmed to be of Earth origin. Emperor. They appear to be using some form of advanced kinetic weapons, rather than standard energy armaments. Kane's slitted eyes narrowed. Earth? That primitive backwater that just achieved FTL capability? They dare to interfere with the Vorak Empire's rightful conquest? Their weapons are unexpectedly effective against our shields, Rex admitted reluctantly. Our defenses are optimized for energy-based attacks. Kane rose from his command throne, towering over his subordinates. Recall the 3rd and 4th Battalions from the surface. Assemble a force of 1,000 ships. I want these Earth insects crushed completely, their vessels reduced to atoms. Their presumption will serve as an example to any who would oppose our expansion. As Rex hurried to comply with the orders, Kane stared at the tactical display showing the Earth fleet's position. They will learn what it means to challenge the Vorak Empire. Meanwhile, the Earth fleet had rendezvoused with Captain Nico's damaged command ship and the remaining Kalan defense vessels, a pitiful collection of battered cruisers and frigates. "Admiral Hayes," Nico said, his voice filled with genuine emotion as they met via holographic projection. "What your fleet accomplished against the patrol screen was nothing short of miraculous. The Vorak never expected kinetic weapons of such power." Hayes nodded. "The element of surprise worked in our favor, but they'll adapt quickly." "Yes," Nico agreed grimly. "Our long-range sensors indicate they're recalling ships and forming a massive battle group. They're taking your threat seriously now." Hayes frowned. "How much time do we have?" "Perhaps 3 hours before they're organized and moving to engage you. Then, we need to use that time wisely." Hayes turned to his officers. "I want damage control teams assisting the Kalan vessels. Share shield frequency data to help them withstand kinetic impacts. We need every ship operational." "Admiral," Nico interjected, "the neighboring Zenturi Federation has been monitoring our situation. They've been hesitant to directly engage the Vorak, but with your arrival, they've contacted us offering technical assistance and intelligence." Hayes raised an eyebrow. "The Zenturi, their technological level is considerable, from what I understand." "Yes," Nico confirmed. "Their shield technology in particular is among the most advanced in this sector. They're offering to upgrade your vessel's defensive systems." Hayes didn't hesitate. "Accept their offer with our thanks. Commander Blake, coordinate with the Zenturi representatives. I want those shield upgrades implemented immediately." The next 3 hours passed in a flurry of activity. Zenturi engineers transported aboard the Earth vessels, working alongside human technicians to integrate their advanced shield technology. Kalan strategists shared detailed intelligence on Vorak battle tactics and weaknesses. Damaged systems were repaired, weapons recalibrated. On the bridge of the Defiant, Hayes studied the latest sensor data with growing concern. The Vorak had assembled their battle fleet, nearly 1,000 vessels arranged in their traditional attack formation, with heavy cruisers forming the vanguard and the massive flagship positioned safely in the rear. "They're launching," Blake reported, returning to the bridge after overseeing the shield upgrades. "Heading directly for our position." Hayes nodded, his expression resolute. "All ships, battle stations. This is Admiral Hayes to all Earth, Kalan, and Zenturi vessels. Form up according to the plan we discussed. Remember your training and remember why we're here. To defend the right of peaceful civilizations to exist without tyranny." As the Vorak fleet approached, Hayes implemented his strategy. Rather than meeting the enemy head-on, where they would be overwhelmed by superior numbers, the Allied fleet retreated toward a dense asteroid field that bordered the Kalan system. "They're pursuing, sir," Reyes reported, "maintaining formation." "Good," Hayes replied. "Let's see how well they maneuver in confined spaces." The Allied fleet entered the asteroid field, their smaller vessels navigating the dangerous terrain with precision. The massive Vorak ships followed, but their rigid formation began to break down as they were forced to navigate around the larger asteroids. "They're spreading out," Blake observed, "breaking cohesion." Hayes nodded. Now, all ships, execute attack pattern Omega. Target their forward elements. The Allied vessels suddenly reversed course, weaving through the asteroids to engage the now disorganized front of the Vorak fleet. Earth railguns opened fire, alongside Kalan energy weapons and newly arrived Zenturi phase disruptors. The Vorak vanguard, caught by surprise, suffered immediate casualties. Their rigid command structure hampered their ability to adapt to the fluid battlefield conditions. For every Allied ship damaged or destroyed, 5 Vorak vessels were eliminated. On the bridge of the Eternal Conquest, Emperor Cain watched with mounting fury as his carefully arranged battle plan disintegrated. "Their tactics are unorthodox," General Rex admitted. "They're using the asteroid field to negate our numerical advantage." "Send in the planet killers," Cain ordered, his patience exhausted. "Obliterate that entire sector." Rex hesitated. "Emperor, our own ships are still engaged in that area." "I don't care," Cain roared. "Those who cannot prevail deserve their fate." The Vorak's most devastating weapons, massive vessels equipped with gravitational disruptors capable of shattering planets, moved into position and began charging their main systems. Aboard the Defiant, Hayes received the warning from Zenturi intelligence operatives. "Planet killers activating," he announced to the fleet. "All ships, disengage and fall back to secondary positions." The Allied fleet executed a fighting retreat, drawing the Vorak deeper into the asteroid field while avoiding the firing arcs of the planet killers. "Sir," Blake said quietly, "if those weapons fire, they'll destroy half this asteroid field. And us along with it." Hayes nodded grimly. "Then we need to take them out first." He turned to communications. "Signal the Zenturi stealth vessels. Execute Operation Shadow Strike." As the battle raged, 6 previously hidden Zenturi ships decloaked directly behind the Vorak planet killers. Before the massive vessels could react, the Zenturi fired specialized EMP weapons designed to overload power systems. 2 of the 3 planet killers went dark immediately, their weapons powering down as emergency systems kicked in. The third managed to fire a partial discharge, shattering a large asteroid, but missing the Allied fleet entirely. The tide of battle had shifted. The Allied forces, now bolstered by additional Zenturi vessels and even ships from the previously neutral Omega Alliance, pressed their advantage. Earth's kinetic weapons continued to prove devastatingly effective against Vorak shields, while the upgraded defenses on the Earth vessels allowed them to withstand return fire. Hayes studied the tactical display, noting that the Vorak flagship had begun to fall back, surrounded by a protective screen of cruisers. "They're withdrawing," Blake observed. "Emperor Cain is trying to escape," Hayes said. "If he succeeds, this war continues. We need to end it now." He opened a channel to all Allied ships. "This is Admiral Hayes. We have one opportunity to strike at the heart of the Vorak command. I'm calling for a coordinated attack on their flagship. All vessels with operational weapon systems converge on these coordinates." Across the battlefield, ships from Earth, Kalan, Zenturi, and the Omega Alliance acknowledged the order and changed course. A massive impromptu fleet of diverse vessels, nearly 100 in total, moved to intercept the retreating Vorak flagship. "They're increasing power to engines," Reyes reported, "preparing to jump to FTL." "Not if we can help it," Hayes replied. "All ships, maximum fire on their engine sections. Don't let them escape." The Allied fleet opened fire with everything they had. Earth railguns sent hypervelocity projectiles, smashing into the flagship's aft sections. Zenturi phase disruptors created localized spatial distortions that stressed the massive vessel's structural integrity. Kalan energy beams targeted vulnerable communication arrays and weapon emplacements. On the bridge of the Eternal Conquest, systems were failing across the board. Emergency alarms blared as structural integrity dropped to critical levels. "Emperor!" General Rex shouted over the chaos. "We must abandon ship. Our engines are failing. FTL is offline." Cain stood amid the destruction, his face a mask of disbelief and rage. Impossible! Defeated by primitives and weaklings. A massive explosion rocked the flagship as an Earth railgun round penetrated to the main reactor. Secondary systems began to fail catastrophically. "Abandon ship," Rex ordered the bridge crew, turning to his Emperor. "Sire, we must go now." But Kane remained motionless, staring at the view screen showing the Allied fleet continuing its relentless attack. "The Vorak Empire does not retreat," he said quietly. "The Vorak Empire conquers or dies." Another explosion, larger than the first, tore through the command deck. General Rex was thrown against a bulkhead, watching in horror as the Emperor was engulfed in flames. Across the battlefield, Allied sensors detected the cascade of explosions rippling through the Vorak flagship. "Their reactors going critical," Blake reported. "All ships, maintain safe distance." The assembled fleet pulled back as the Eternal Conquest was consumed by a series of massive explosions, finally culminating in a blinding flash as its quantum core detonated. When the light faded and sensors cleared, only debris remained where the mighty flagship had once been. "Confirmed destruction of the Vorak command vessel," Reyes announced, his voice solemn. Throughout the battlefield, the remaining Vorak ships, upon learning of their Emperor's death, began to disengage. Some attempted to flee, while others, crewed by the most fanatical warriors, fought to the death. But without centralized command, their once fearsome fleet disintegrated into individual vessels fighting for survival. Within hours, the battle was over. The Kalen system was secure. Reports began coming in from across Vorak-controlled space. Without Emperor Kane's iron grip, long subjugated worlds were rising up, overthrowing their oppressors. The empire that had terrorized a dozen star systems for generations was collapsing from within. 1 week later, representatives from Earth, Kalen, Zenturi, the Omega Alliance, and several newly liberated worlds gathered aboard the Unity Station, a neutral diplomatic facility orbiting Kalen Prime. Admiral Hayes, still wearing his uniform, but now adorned with additional commendations, stood beside Captain Nico as they watched the various delegates file into the conference chamber. "Did you ever imagine this outcome when you sent that distress call?" Hayes asked quietly. Nico shook his head, his expression one of wonder. "Not in my wildest dreams. We hoped for a miracle. But we got something better. We got allies willing to stand with us against tyranny." President Vale approached them, accompanied by Chancellor Revo of the Zenturi Federation and other dignitaries. "Admiral Hayes," Vale said warmly, extending her four-fingered hand in the human gesture of greeting she had learned. "Today, we formalize what began on the battlefield, a galactic defense alliance, a commitment that never again will peaceful civilizations stand alone against aggression." Hayes shook her hand firmly. "Earth is honored to be part of this alliance, Madam President." "You've earned more than honor," Chancellor Revo interjected, his crystalline voice resonating slightly. "Your 12 ships changed the course of galactic history. You showed that courage and innovation can overcome even the most overwhelming odds." The formal signing ceremony was broadcast across dozens of worlds in multiple star systems. Leaders from civilizations that had previously regarded each other with suspicion or indifference now pledged mutual defense and cooperation. After the ceremony, Hayes found himself standing at a viewport, looking out at the stars. Captain Nico joined him. "What are you thinking, Admiral?" the Kalen officer asked. Hayes considered the question. "I'm thinking about home, about Earth. We ventured into space hoping to find new knowledge, new resources. Instead, we found a calling, a purpose greater than ourselves." Nico nodded thoughtfully. The Vorak believed that strength came from domination, from forcing others to submit or be destroyed. But true strength, it seems, comes from standing together, from recognizing that despite our different biologies, different histories, different worlds, We share common values worth defending. There will be challenges ahead, Hayes acknowledged. The remaining Vorak forces are scattered, but not eliminated. Other threats may emerge. Building trust between such diverse civilizations won't be easy. No, Nico agreed, but nothing worthwhile ever is. As they spoke, ships from all the Allied worlds moved in formation outside the viewport, a symbolic patrol marking the birth of the Galactic Defense Alliance. Earth vessels with their distinctive angular designs flew alongside the sleek Kalan ships, crystalline Zenturi craft, and the massive organic-looking vessels of the Omega Alliance. You know, Hayes said with a slight smile, when we received your distress call, there were those on Earth who said we should stay neutral, that the problems of the galaxy weren't our concern. I'm glad they didn't prevail, Nico replied. Hayes nodded. So am I. Because today has proven something I've always believed, that the true measure of a civilization isn't its technology, or its wealth, or its military might. It's the courage to stand up for others, even at great risk to yourself. Beyond the viewport, the stars continued their eternal vigil, silent witnesses to the birth of a new era in galactic history, one where the weak need not fear the strong, where diverse civilizations could unite in common purpose, and where a distress call from the most distant world would never again go unanswered.